We have arrived in Australia after 24 hours. I mean, it's declared as the most beautiful, not country or island, it's the most beautiful continent in this world. Haven't slept in the past, was it 26 hours or so probably need some recovery at first.
My journey began in Adelaide, where I reunited with my brother after 6 months apart. Exhausted from the long trip, I thought to stay awake until the late evening to avoid jet lag, knowing we had an early start the next morning to kick off our adventures.
And for today, we've got a very exciting journey to the Kangaroo Island.
We booked our trip through Sealing, paying 370 Australian dollars for a tour bus with about 50 other people. The journey began with a 2-hour drive to the coast, where we boarded a ferry to Kangaroo Island. Kangaroo Island is the third largest island in Australia, after Tasmania and Melville Island. Don't be fooled by how small it looks on Google Maps. It's actually 8 times the size of Singapore. Once on the island, we hopped onto another coach. Our first stop was the Seal Bay Conservation Park, where we got to see sea lions in their natural habitat. Since they're an endangered species, we had to keep our distance, especially with such a large group. We continued our journey with a quick lunch stop, and that's where I had my first sighting of Australian wildlife. A little koala perched in the trees. We headed further south to the remarkable rocks.
These rocks behind me, and the beach looks absolutely incredible.
And continued our journey down to the Admirals Arch, where I captured 2 seals fighting.
I just stole the camera of this YouTube channel. Today we are looking at the Wild Park Sanctuary here on the Kangaroo Island. There we can see some penguins.
It was the Kangaroo Island Wildlife Park where we saw some more koalas. And the first time I met some kangaroos where I gave my shot to feed them.
Wait, come back here.
No! God, please, no! No!
At least this kangaroo over here didn't reject me.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
I met also King...
What is it?
King Julian.
From Madagascar. Overall, the trip to Kangaroo Island was alright. I didn't see any wild kangaroos on the streets, and honestly, it felt like I spent more time traveling than actually enjoying each attraction. If you're planning a visit, I'd recommend renting a car, especially if you're in a group of 2 to 3 people or more. Take the car on the ferry over there. Yes, it's pretty pricey, but you'll have more time with the animals and won't have to wait for all 48 people to get back on the bus at every stop. After a long day, we returned to Adelaide, where one of the biggest highlights of the trip was waiting for us.
Day 2 in Australia, baby. I mean, look, a beach literally next to where we live. I mean, half an hour, but we are going to swim with some wild dolphins now. Dolphin swimming was insane, food as well. I had some burritos for lunch, and we're already at the airport now, leaving Adelaide to Melbourne. So went dolphin swimming this morning and ate lunch, came to the airport, and now we're just heading off again.
We caught a late evening flight from Adelaide to Melbourne, giving us a relaxed day to explore the city the next morning. One of our stops was the Victoria State Library, which had a magical, almost Harry Potter-like vibe. We also admired some of Melbourne's iconic architecture, including the stunning Flinders Street Station and the historic St. Paul's Cathedral. It was a great way to soak in the city's charm and character.
Guys, we are in Melbourne. Crazy skyline here.
Alright guys, we've got our next trip, and that is to the Great Ocean Road.
Our day began with a long drive through the middle of nowhere to reach the 12 Apostles. The journey might have been remote, but it was absolutely worth it. The return drive along the stunning coastline made it all the more unforgettable. This was also the first time I saw some wild kangaroo.
Alright guys, another day at the airport. We had to leave around 5 AM. 3 days we spent here in Melbourne, I would rate it an 8 out of 10, but now we're going off to Uluru, and it's going to be 43 degrees out there, Celsius degrees, so that's going to be hot.
Our journey continued from Melbourne to Ayers Rock in Uluru with Jetstar, a budget airline that's notoriously strict about carry-on weight limits. That evening we went on an unforgettable camel ride through the desert, with the towering, majestic Uluru dominating the landscape.
Our camel, Beja, strange fact as well, he chews here, as you see, on his own vomit.
I savoured every moment of the sunset camel ride, as the most adventurous 4-day tour of our journey in Australia began with adventure tours. On our first day we explored Kata Tjuta, also known as Mount Olga, where we went on an hour walk through 36 impressive varied-sized domes. It was a stark contrast to Uluru, where we spent the evening watching the sunset with some snacks.
First day of the tour, you can see the big red rock. Oh. Yeah, flies and me are not best friends here. I got a Uluru hat as well, reminds me of my military time. It's pretty hot, I think it's around 40 degrees. We went walking for about 2 hours. No drone flying here either, because they're quite strict with photography and stuff.
Generally speaking, I learned a lot during the tour about the rich culture from the Anangu and other Aboriginals. Their communities suffered immensely during the period of British colonialism, a time when they were hunted and killed. This dark chapter led to the loss of much of old Australia's history and traditions, leaving lasting scars on the nation. On a lighter yet equally fascinating note, I also learned from our tour guide about the story of the Emu War. Yes, a war against the emus. In 1932, farmers in Western Australia faced an overwhelming number of these large, flightless birds destroying their crops. In desperation, the government sent soldiers armed with machine guns to control the emu population. Amazingly, the emus proved too agile and resilient, evading the military's efforts and ultimately winning the conflict. The failed campaign remains a quirky and unforgettable part of Australian history, showcasing the unexpected stories this land holds. After a delicious dinner, we prepared our swag, where we slept the first night outside under the starry outback sky, with all the dangerous insects and animals out there.
Alright guys, good morning. Current time is 4 o'clock in the morning. And wow, that was crazy, sleeping outside in that swag. But at least you see the stars out there. I probably think you can't see them with this camera. You can see the moon, but that's it. We had to wake up this early so we can see the sunrise.
I didn't sleep a lot, but it was totally worth it to see the sun bounce off the wall of Uluru.
Alright, we're on the sunrise morning walk. I mean, look at me. What a beautiful sunrise. And it's the 25th of December today, so Merry Christmas. What a day to remember.
We didn't have any speakers to listen to some music, so that's what we got. We walked around Uluru, taking in its incredible presence before the scorching 43 Celsius degree heat set in. I met another wild animal, as in the afternoon our journey went deeper into the outback. We passed by the so-called fake Uluru and some fascinating salt lakes. These enduring traces are a reminder of an ancient time, millions of years ago, when the outback was covered by vast inland seas. It's amazing to think that these salt lakes have lasted as evidence of a completely different Australia. We drove 5 hours deeper into the outback, arriving at an abandoned campsite closed for the scorching summer season. As we explored the area, we had our first encounter of the night. A wild dingo quietly observing us from the shadows.
Alright guys, that's the place where we are staying for tonight. We are in a left campsite here in Kings somewhere. Oh yeah, talking about Kings, we saw this morning apparently a king brown snake, and just before the toilet I saw my first snake. They are fucking fast and I don't want to be here, because apparently there are 3 most venomous snakes here, Scorpio, and it's so strange. It's like in the movies when you see like a left campsite, because it's closed during summertime here. I mean, today 43 degrees. I don't know how we survived that one.
It was a Christmas night to remember. Our tour guide made us some delicious Christmas curry before getting ready for another night in the swag. We heard about 20 dingoes howling and moving around near us in the dark. Bruce, the abandoned donkey who had joined a nearby camel farm, cried loudly all night. I don't even want to think about what might have been crawling around us while we tried to sleep. The worst part though was the endless mosquitoes biting us and the unbearable 30 Celsius degrees heat in my sleeping bag. None of us could really get much sleep, but it was a night which we'll never forget in our lives. But there was no time to rest as the next hike awaited us in the morning.
If we're doing the rim walk, this is where we start. Once we're up on top, we've committed to doing the whole thing. Now the way that this one works is you come up, it flattens out, then it goes up, and it flattens out, and then it goes up.
That is the walk for today. Just a quick summary of last night. You don't want to hear it. Dingoes literally around our whole campsite. I was sweating probably around 4 to 5 liters of water. It was not pleasant. It was terrible. And then I think I have a cold now. But we're going up this canyon now. Apparently the Death Canyon and Heart Attack Canyon. Because people dehydrate up here. So that's gonna be fun. You see. So at this point, I should probably focus on actually walking. Oh yeah, mosquitoes. You can probably see it on my ears. Full with bites. Nice feeling. Let's go.
I've got this picture in my mind. It's just the two of us. Just the two of us.
This song will be in our hearts for the rest of our lives.
Alright guys, we have a storm. I mean, look at that dry ground here, shattered. The 2 hours sleep in the past 2 days is killing me now. But at least I survived that heart attack hill. Just getting back to Uluru now, getting a chill evening. We need to get some sleep and then we're heading off to the next place.
We had a great last evening together and I think this kind of experience really got the little group together. We headed back to the Ayers Rock airport where we said goodbye to our tour guide, who I'll also remember for the rest of my life if I ever complain about my working conditions.
Alright, our tour guide had coconut water all the time. His name was Ty, like a real Australian. I need to give this a try. He was surviving those days only with coconut water because if he ate, he fell asleep, so... I mean, it's refreshing, but that's it. like a 6 out of 10. Probably the more I drink it, the more I get used to it.
We took our next flight Qantas from Ayers Rock to Sydney and from Sydney to our next destination.
Alright, after kind of a tough day I would say, traveling all day from Uluru to Brisbane now. I had finally a lie-in, needed that because sleeping outside, yeah, not the best thing, but already a tent helped, so I've recovered quite a bit now. Getting our baggage and going into Brisbane.
In Brisbane, my brother gave me a quick tour around as he spent the last 6 months studying here, and he was quite a bit emotional and his memories were flashing past his eyes.
Alright guys, we've got our little camper van here. That's going to be the place where we are sleeping for the next 3 days. Road trip from Brisbane to Sydney. I mean, look at that vehicle here. That looks so cool. So we did a relocation and paid like £3 per day. And look where we are sleeping behind there. It's just perfect. Exactly enough space to hit the roads.
Our journey went from Brisbane along the coast where we had our first stop at the Gold Coast.
Time for some lunch here. We're doing some chicken wraps. So I need to make sure that the chicken is actually cooking as well. And then we're going to enjoy some wraps. Taste review guys, 10 out of 10 wrap. Experience wise, got a lot of wind here, so it makes it quite inconvenient, but hungry, so I heb dem zijn convenience veld een beetje.
Off-road gaan met them,
That's the main purpose of it.
After our lunch stop, we enjoyed the sunset at the beach, where I could finally fly my drone more often, and drove further down along the coastline in a red, moody evening color. arriving at the Yangon rest area where we spent the night.
Cheers, brother. Just going to chill here in this lovely place. Calm down, drink some ginger beer, then go to bed. Alright guys, we've got some breakfast, muesli, good black coffee with a beautiful motorway view.
We drove 20 minutes further south to Byron Bay where we spent the day at the beach.
Probably can't see me because it is a bit bright here. Not a lot of people, not too much sun right now. Just going to enjoy the beach and yeah, get some lunch maybe pretty soon. We're now going to the piano bar, apparently a famous place to go to. So just going to chill for the evening there.
It was a short night as we woke up once again early to see the sunrise at the lighthouse in Byron Bay. We had a long drive in front of us and left Byron Bay driving along the coast towards Newcastle. I could see some incredible beaches along the way. We drove past the Seals Rock and out of time reasons didn't went to the Stockton beach.
Alright guys, road trip to Sydney from, Brisbane technically speaking, but we're just stopping along the way, went to Byron Bay. The piano bar, what can I say? It's very interesting. They had two pianos playing all the songs. It was an amazing atmosphere, I would say.
Enjoyed a lovely sunset dinner cooked by my brother at the beach.
Rating for the conditions, I would say it's 9 to 8.5 for me.
What have we got? I would say 10 out of 10.
Italian food.
I put my camera aside for the evening and embraced the sunset where we also met two young Australian boys who were big fishing enthusiasts.
Had a good late dinner. It was kind of lunch and dinner all combined.
We continued our journey further down close to Sydney where we stopped at the Hawkesbury resting area just for a quick night's sleep before waking up at 4 AM to return our camper van.
Alright guys, all the rush for our New Year's Eve firework, which is literally over here, Harbour Bridge. And now we're just gonna wait and wait and wait.
Yeah, it was a long wait we had for that firework. To be exact, 14 hours. People have seen the firework more like this. But I'll remember it for this.
Happy New Year's guys, spending our time here in Sydney, our final destination. Saw the fireworks yesterday, which was, at first I thought it's not that big, but now looking at the footage, the drone stuff from the news as well, it was massive. I'm going to look a couple of places here, simply chill for a bit as well, because the past couple of weeks have been a lot of traveling.
We spent some time exploring the city, starting with a stroll around Darling Harbour and getting a closer look at the Harbour Bridge. That right there was the place where we stood during the fireworks. From there, we continued our journey to the iconic Opera House. And if you're interested in learning more about Sydney's history and stories, I'd highly recommend booking the free tour, which is also available in Melbourne. It's an excellent way to dive into the city's past while picking up some helpful tips and tricks to avoid tourist traps.
Here we are at the Bondi Beach today. You see some big waves, a lot of surfers. I guess the Australian dream, people living the Australian dream here.
One of the highlights was the famous coastal walk, which we started at the Coogee Beach. The trail took us along stunning cliffs and breathtaking ocean views. We moved ourselves up passing beaches like Bronte and Tamarama before eventually reaching Bondi Beach, where I finally understood the beauty the place had to offer. Thousands of people sunbathing. We also spent some time at Manly Beach, which was not easily accessible from the Bondi, but that was the place I attempted surfing for the very first time. I gave it my best shot and even managed to stand on the board for a few times, though it was challenging. The unpredictable waves kept me on my toes. Even my brother, who is more experienced, found them tricky to handle. It was a fun and unforgettable experience.
First time surfing yesterday, I'm not gonna lie. It was a good experience, but the waves weren't the best, so I struggled a lot. But the first 3 times, I could stand up, which was a nice feeling. I'm definitely going to give it a try in the future. But this morning, I woke up at 5:10 because it's the second last day here in Australia, and I thought I need to get one last shot of the sunrise.
During our final days in Australia, we went on a bit of a shopping spree. Well, more like a stop at Newcastle. We also headed to Manly Point for a fresh perspective on the Opera House and Harbour Bridge. We spent our last day in Sydney at Bondi Junction, staying indoors as it rained the whole day.
I guess I want to end this trip with a little summary, just going through the emotions and the good time I had here. Alrighty guys, the trip ends here in Australia, Sydney Airport. I had an amazing, wonderful time. Quite an expensive trip, but if you're coming to Australia, just be prepared that it's a lot of waiting and traveling to see the different places.
Just